House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee set to hold a hearing today on the FAA's questionable oversight of the certification for the Boeing 737 MAX. FAA Administrator Steve Dickson will be the main witness. But before he does that, he joins us exclusively right now for the interview of the morning, live from the FAA headquarters with our own Phil Lebeau. Phil.
Thank you, Andrew. Steve, let's get right to it. We're glad you're joining us today here on Squawk Box exclusively. The main question everybody has is the 737 MAX, the timing of when it will be recertified and you will lift the grounding. Boeing says it'll happen by the end of this year. What's your sense in terms of when you will recertify this plane?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be with you, Phil. It's a pleasure to be with you and your viewers this morning. And how many times have you heard me say that we're not on any timeline? We're going to follow every step of the process, however long that takes. There are about 10 or 11 milestones left to complete. We're in the portion of the process right now where we're looking at the software, the validation of how the software was developed. That'll take some time, but we'll work through every step of the process very diligently.
You're on your own time frame, but let's be clear here. Will this plane be recertified in 2019 by the end of this year?
Well, as I said, there are a number of processes that milestones that have to be completed. If you do the arithmetic, each one of these processes is going to take some time. There are a few interdependencies. There are some things that run in parallel. For example, once the design is approved, once we do the certification flight, there are pilot training requirements that have to be defined. We're bringing in international pilots to help us with that process. And then there will be a report that goes out for public comment. And if you just do the math, it's going to extend into 2020.
So it won't be recertified this year. Do you expect it by the end of January or by the end of February? What would you say is realistic?
It's impossible to say, Phil. I mean, if I had that kind of a crystal ball, I would certainly be able to share it. But it's very important that our team works very closely with the international authorities that have been working with us and with the Boeing team to do this right, and we're gonna do it diligently because safety is absolutely our highest priority with this airplane.
You've made it clear here there is no plans to recertify this year. It's not going to happen. And yet, when we talk with Boeing, and we reached out to them last week, they're sticking with this target of we expect recertification in December, potentially commercial service by the end of January. Are you frustrated that Boeing is putting that out there when the reality is the process is not close to that happening?
Well, again, I understand that a company, a manufacturer in this case, has a project plan with milestones and is devoting resources towards moving things forward. But again, I've made it very clear that Boeing's plan is not the FAA's plan. We're certainly working very closely together, but we're going to keep our heads down and support the team in getting this work done right.
Has Dennis Muhlenberg, CEO of Boeing, or any other Boeing executives, have they made unfair requests, if you will, in terms of put pressure on you and your agency to speed up the process of getting this plane back in the air?
Well, I've made it clear that I'm going to support my people, and that means they're going to take whatever time it takes to get this process completed and to do it the right way, the way it should be done. Having said that, I would not say that there have been any requests to cut corners. There have been discussions from time to time about which processes run in parallel, where the interdependencies are, and that's dialogue that is not counterproductive. But I just want to make it clear that we are going to be very diligent about every step of the process, whether it's training or software development, design, or mechanical issues with the airplane.
Steve, Andrew has a question for you. Andrew?
Steve, there's a Wall Street Journal report out this morning suggesting this is going to come up during the hearing, so I wanted to ask it to you in advance right now, which is this internal report from 2018, back in November, where the FAA, in terms of analyzing, and this is now after, I believe, the first crash, said that they believed that the MAX could have averaged one fatal crash about every 2 or 3 years. So knowing that at that time, can you walk us through a little bit of just the thought process and also the pressures that the FAA may or may not have felt that they were under in terms of keeping that plane in the air?
Sure. The process that you're referring to is a risk management process, and one of the reasons that we have the safest aviation system in the world in the United States is because we are very data-driven, and our data systems have become much more sophisticated over the years. And as you have in many industries, you use that data and those tools to analyze risk. And so there were immediate actions, an emergency airworthiness directive after the Lion Air crash, and then the team came together as data came in to develop a decision support tool to determine how quickly we needed to move forward with the manufacturer with modifications to the aircraft.
So Steve, it was the fixes that were suggested at the time were inadequate, I think, is more. But I have a question. It says that some of this data-driven stuff is very conservative, and that it's sort of looked at as this is a worst-case scenario that's not really reality, and we're talking about it. If it's the absolute worst case, this is what would happen. So it seems like you're saying that so we don't really need to take it that seriously. I bet you from now on, the worst-case scenario will be thought of as de facto. Wouldn't that be a better way to, I mean, why do the data? Why do the analysis if you're not going to take it seriously?
Well, remember, grounding an airplane is really an unprecedented decision. It's only really happened 3 times in our history. And we need to understand what the causes of an accident are. And remember, MCAS didn't bring down this airplane by itself. Right. We had maintenance issues with the aircraft. There were issues with how the aircraft was operated. Again, all of these things acting together create a certain level of risk that we need to manage and bring down to an appropriate level. And we also need to recognize, I would be the first to say, that what we have done historically in terms of safety is not good enough today, and Right. It's not going to be good enough tomorrow. So we need to continue to refine and improve these processes.
Hey, Steve, another question just about the airline overall. We've been talking about this for months and months, but the idea of, is this an incremental change to the aircraft? And I think that gets at the question of what sort of pilot training will be required. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we haven't made a decision on pilot training. We don't want to keep our thumb on the scale on that, frankly. And Boeing will make a proposal as part of this process, and we will have a team of 16 U.S. and international pilots of various experience levels and various backgrounds that will validate the training proposal in the simulator. And then after that, we will produce an addendum to the Flight Standardization Board report, which is the process by which the airplane is certified from a training and operations perspective. And we want to wait for the outcome of that process to make that final determination.
That question of the process for the pilot training, this gets into, there's going to be a public comment period behind some of these steps, which some of those maybe, 10, 15 days?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Even if you add that in, we're looking at a plane that may not be recertified until the end of January.
Well, and you have also, even right now with the master minimum equipment list, the maintenance requirements, we're in a 30-day comment period for that, which started about a little over a week ago. So again, you can just, as I said, just doing the arithmetic on these processes, you see that it pushes into next year.
Steve, one last question. Have you heard from President Trump about the MAX or from anyone in the White House who has said, look, we're coming up on 9 months, it'll be a year. We need to get this plane back in the air. We need to get Boeing delivering planes again. It's good for the economy. Have you received any pressure at all from the White House?
No, I have not. This is my decision. This is the agency's decision. Secretary Chow has been very supportive, and the White House has been very supportive as well.
Steve, thank you very much.
All right,
Steve
thanks,
Dickson,
Bill.
the administrator for the FAA, joining us exclusively here on Squawk Box. Guys, just to put a point on this, am I correct? No certification this year. It's not likely to happen, or it won't happen.
That's correct, and I'm going to fly the airplane as well, as I said before.
We can't wait to be out there. See what you think when you land it.